Jedi Rich here. I'm now here in front of the Madison Square Garden in New York City. Yeah, I know I said I was going to walk and talk, but I feel like sitting down. I got tired of walking. Oh man, you walk a lot in this town. I don't know if any of you guys have ever been here to New York. It's definitely one of those towns where you spend a lot of time walking. And you spend a lot of time walking from place to place, and taking the subways and running and catching buses and going upstairs. And it's basically an American Ninja thing every day, just going to the store. Sorry guys, I just kind of woke up and I'm now just realizing my hair. Well, I probably should have checked the mirror before I jumped online. Hey, thanks for jumping in. It is Monday, August 16th. The year is 2021. And the current time it's 500 hours and 19 minutes in New York City. Now, I wanted to jump on because, I see a lot of people talking about Vegas, and a lot of people, say, hey, Vegas, what, I don't know. People just talk a lot, because it seems like Las Vegas is a big topic. Everybody, and that's why I know a lot about it. And that's why I'm more passionate about it when I see things going wrong. As opposed to some of these other guys who I don't even know what their real drive is. And just some of the stuff that I see get out there is just kind of random. But I'm hearing, well, not hearing, the facts that are happening is that everything is being shifted. All the ownership is shifting from the previous owners to new owners and new business models. So everyone's falling into this thing that Vicky is doing. You guys familiar with Vicky? VICI. Vicky is the restructured, bankrupt Caesars Inc. Caesars Entertainment. Caesars Entertainment went bankrupt, I think, in 2015 or maybe even 2017. Yeah, maybe it was 2017. And these guys, when it was finally all done, and part of the deal is that they would break Caesars up and create a separate entity that would just be the property owners. And they would lease out the gaming to themselves and to other people so they could start selling stuff off and get out of bankruptcy. And that was the deal. Well, as a result, this Vicky group is a big, what do you call it, a REIT, a real estate investment trust. So if you're an investor on Wall Street, you can give your money to Vicky and they will pool it. So they get all this money and they go out and they buy a bunch of casinos or hotels or spaces or whatever. And then they lease the spaces out to, well, at first they were leasing it out to themselves. But then as they started selling them off, now they're leasing them out to other entities. So, like, for example, Vicky just bought, I think they were the ones who just bought the Venetian and the Palazzo and the Las Vegas Sands. They bought the property with Apollo Group. Now, from what I understand, Apollo Group will be doing the gaming portion of that. So you have two entities now. So now you have you used to have just the casino and then they own the gaming. But now you have two different levels, and they have another level. So you have a landlord, and now you have a person that's renting out the casino. So why Vegas is struggling is because that's a different model. Very different model from the ones that our parents used to go see when we used to hear about the $1.99 steak and egg special at 4 a.m. plus a free room or even a $50 room. And when I was in college, that was a big thing. You go to Vegas, you just get a $50 room. Who cares? You're just gonna go drink and party anyways. you're not a big gambler. We don't have money to gamble, but that was the deal. Cheap food, and they were able to do that for the reason, quite simple. You had one owner. One owner owned the building, owned the casino, owned the hotel. They owned the bar, the restaurant, the food, everything. The owner could go into the restaurant and just order whatever he wanted. It was his restaurant. So if he wanted to comp his people that were playing, tell the restaurant, give them free food or sell it for $1.99. I don't care, because these guys have lost so much money gambling, we won't even notice it in the restaurant. Well, what happens is when you decide to rent out that restaurant to a separate entity, that restaurant now is paying rent to the casino. So the casino owner can't come in and say, hey man, give me some of your steaks. I want to give my high roll. Guy will say, sure, but you got to pay for them. Casino usually says, okay, sure, I'll pay for them. But you see, now the owner's more like, shit, every time I do this, it costs me 24 bucks. So I don't know how many of these steaks I want to be giving out every day. So he's more conscious of it. Whereas before, he was getting the steaks at wholesale. It was costing him $4. See? So he was able to say, $4. Everybody in the casino can have steaks. Everybody who's playing can have a steak for $4. But when it's $24, it's a different story. So that's a sense I'm kind of giving that as the example. That happened, probably about in the 2010s. And it worked for a minute. Like, for example, the XS nightclub, right? Now, XS, I'm not sure who the actual owners of that were. Okay, now, I just stumped myself. I was gonna say XS was another group, but it wasn't. I was thinking of the Hakkasan and Marquee groups. And they copied what Wynn did over there. There you go, okay. So what happened is Wynn picks up on this thing that's going on internationally, which is EDM music. And it's big in 2010. I mean, it's big underground, if that makes sense. It's not mainstream yet. It's not mainstream until 2014. But before then, it was this underground music scene called EDM. And it kind of spawned from the raves and that drug culture back then in the 90s. And it finally hit, not mainstream, but it hit commercial. Raves had become commercialized by 2010. And Steve Wynn picked up on that. Open Club Excess. Club Excess became the #1 nightclub, grossing nightclub ever. They made over $100 million a year in revenues for a nightclub. That was outpacing New York City by 3 times. Biggest New York City nightclub was 30 million. So gives you an idea of what was happening. Steve Wynn said that 40% of his revenues came from that nightclub. So as you can imagine, what happened is that Hakkasan, Marquee, Hyde, a bunch of other nightclubs are popping up. And then this is the joke. Zook is now here, or there, at Resorts World. Well, the thing is that nightclub was planned originally back in 2013, 2015, back when everything was booming. That's when they sold those guys on building a nightclub there, right next to Wynn. Well, through a number of issues, the big one was Trump got elected, and that really threw Vegas into a spin as far as like the clientele changed. But then also the Malaysian currency took a nosedive. So the Resorts World couldn't finish the project when Trump got elected. So they had to get new financing, which they eventually did in 2019. They got another $1 billion in May of 2019. Talk about timing. To go out there and to open their big nightclub to compete with XS. But by now, just so you know, in 2019, I'm already picking up on that Vegas's clientele shifted. between Trump being elected and the 2017 shooting in Mandalay Bay, the clientele in Las Vegas had shifted dramatically, had taken a severe downturn. But you wouldn't know that because they were still filling the rooms with conventions and stuff. So it was still busy. They're still pulling the numbers, but it wasn't the depth. It wasn't that same energy they had in 2015 that everyone was, you know, basically building their principles on. So hold on, I don't want to get hit by a car here. Sorry. Normally this hour I can just walk randomly and just kind of talk, but okay, so get bearings here, guys. That right there, that's the Empire State Building. So just so you know where I'm at right now. So we're in, well, I'm actually in Chelsea, Manhattan right now, which is just below, it's right across from Greeley Square, which is just down from Times Square. Times Square is just up there 10 blocks. So that's that place you always see on TV where all the GMAs, and this is down the way a little bit towards, well, if you guys ever see Billions, it's close to where Chuck Rhodes works, or used to work. I'm heading towards Chuck Rhodes' office. Anyways, I digress. So I have to kind of lay that out because it's kind of been a long time coming, like these little shifts. What happens is Vegas gets a boom, right? It's like the people there start just overselling it to everyone. They just start, the people there just want to make so much money that, and the leadership, there's none. There's no executive leadership to control growth. They think as long as you build a casino, it doesn't matter. If you got the money to build a casino, build it. It won't, the tourists will show up. They think if you build it, they will come. And I don't know if that was ever the case. I don't think the casino business was that easy. I think that was just kind of people just thought that. But it's not as easy as putting a couple slot machines up, some dice, and making $1 billion. I mean, there's a lot of regular. Anyways, point is, if it was that easy, then why is it that they're all going out of business? And they have been. This isn't the first time. So what happens in 2013, it's just kind of funny because, hey buddy, first, oh man, hold on bro. I don't got my goggles on. Let me get my goggles on. I gotta put my goggles on. I know I look kind of like a dork when I wear these, but everybody's been calling me old. Bro, you're looking like Einstein at first. Oh, okay. Einstein? Okay, looking like him or sounding like him? Those are two very different things. Looking like him, I'm not sure is a compliment, but sounding like him. Anyways. So, what's cool about here is that as long as you're not hurting anybody, you're free to do whatever you want in public. You can even sleep on a sidewalk. Okay, and that's something you cannot do in Las Vegas. I'm talking about the issues with Las Vegas, and one of the issues is that there's something called karma, right? Karma. If you do good things, you know, you get good things coming back to you. So that's how the world works. You and I would both, we'd just be born into a cage. but the rulers don't do that because they know that if they did that, there would be karma to pay. And they wouldn't get away with it. And they haven't. And so that's kind of why things are like that. So one of the things that Las Vegas did in 2019, besides just continuing to overgrow after the Mandalay Bay shooting, think about that for a second. They continued to build the Al Giant Stadium right basically at the shooting site of a massive shooting with no memorial, nothing. So I'm not saying whether they should or shouldn't have. What I'm saying is karma. Well, right before the shooting, they passed a law saying that it was illegal to feed pigeons and illegal to kill them. I mean, that's just a little thing, but you know, killing pigeons, that's not cool. And then they went out and they said, hey, guess what? You cannot be homeless. If you are on the streets of Las Vegas and you have no home, then we're gonna throw you in jail. Well, wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't that be a great social solution for every city that had any sort of issues with money, or if you had a budget issue? Hey, we really don't have any money for mental health. We don't have any money for social services to help some of these poor people. We don't have any money to help these drug addicts do anything. We don't have any money for education. But you know what we could do? We could just take them from here and throw them in the jail. Because that we already got a jail built, and that doesn't cost us anything.
I'm not having this, man. I'm not having this over here. I'm not having this, man. I'm giving my shit.
Well, guys, they got a little homeless issue here. You heard that one, okay? Just little street stuff. Now, one thing I do know, they don't like it when you film them. He was all heated about something. I want to see if I'm gonna miss anything. Nah, okay. So, the fact is that in any affluent society where you have billionaires in high buildings, is that you're gonna have poor people too. You're gonna have different levels of classes because you have to have the people who built the buildings. You have to have the workers who are going to secure the building. And then there are the owners who occupy the building. So there's always gonna be a class distinction in any city, and anytime you have any sort of project being built. Because who's gonna build it? The owners aren't gonna build it. So anytime you have people putting money into a project, you've got poor people. People that need money, because I don't know about you, but I wouldn't voluntarily go out into a desert at 100 degrees and go build the Resorts World Casino for free. I wouldn't just go do that because I like how I'm talking to you for free right now. I wouldn't say, hey, you know what I'm gonna go work on the casino, build a casino today in 100 degrees for 8 hours or 10 hours. No, you wouldn't do that. You would have to pay someone. So therefore, that's called, what do you call that? What do you call it when you make someone do something they don't want to do, but they do it because they need food? Right, you call it slavery. All right, hey, look, sun's starting to come up. Where are you guys at? You guys East Coast or West Coast? If you're on the West Coast, you guys are up late. If you're on the East Coast, you're up early. Kind of walking down a shady area here of Midtown Manhattan, or not Midtown, but Chelsea, Manhattan. Kind of want to go see that sunrise. But you know. Okay, so on to why Vegas is having trouble. And we were talking a little bit about the karma stuff. We talked earlier about just how the business models have been shifting. So there's two things that I've talked about. The first one was that Vegas used to be, hey, come on over to my place. It was just a saloon with a roulette wheel and a couple beds upstairs when you got too drunk. You know, and if you lost all your money, tell you what, you can crash upstairs. Or if you made all your money, hey man, I got some hookers upstairs. Don't leave, just go upstairs. That's how it started. And if I got guys playing in my little establishment, I'm talking to the bartender, I'm saying, hey, Billy, flow those guys some more drinks. They're winning. You know, everybody gets drinks on the house because it's my establishment. And that's how it all started. But now today, you've got levels and levels and levels and levels and levels of owners. And a lot of the actual owners don't like gambling. They don't like drinkers. They don't like partying. They might even be very religious. They might be against it. But it makes money, so they don't care. Do you ever see Big Love? Remember that movie or that series on HBO? It was about a very, very religious Mormon family that had a hardware store that decided to get into casino business. Of course, they didn't gamble or drink, but it made money, so they did. And that's what happened. I'm being serious here, guys, that a lot of these people that own these casinos or that work in these casinos, that run these places, absolutely detest the business. They don't like it. They don't like nightclubs. They don't like partying. They don't like people who party, but they love money. So they're willing to put their own religious beliefs aside, be like, hey, I guess God says it's okay for me to sell drugs as long as I don't do them. You know, that's basically kind of their mentality, which, as you and I both know, that's just the mentality of an opiate dealer who says, oh, I'm not causing the problems, it's them that's buying it. I'm just doing God's work. So a lot of what's happened in Las Vegas. Now, how do I know this? Well, you can go through and look at all the new owners, and I actually did some stuff on my website, JediRich.com. But you can look at all the new owners in just the last 2 or 3 years that have shifted. But the guys who made Vegas, the ones that you and I love, like Hangover, you know, the Hangover days, and the Ocean's 11, all that stuff was connected. You know, I mean, everybody was kind of on board. They were kind of on board with the Vegas thing. And now what's happened is that you have, well, it's like in 2015 or so. I don't know what kicked it off. I don't know if it was a plan or if it's just the way things happen. But Vidara, Bellagio, Mandalay Bay, Luxor, New York, the Excalibur, Circus, the Las Vegas Sands, the Palazzo, the Venetian, the Palms, 3 Stations casinos closed, the Rio. Oh, I'm just listing off. Okay, that's all the ones that have sold in the last 2 years. Before COVID. Some of them after COVID, but yeah. But that's a lot of changing hands. I mean, that's a lot of money changing hands. A lot of people out that were in Vegas. So you have to ask yourself, if Vegas is a great investment, then why are MGM is focusing their efforts on Japan. Vicky, the Caesars Entertainment, they're not even doing casinos. They moved to Manhattan. They're right up the street here. I'm not kidding. They left Vegas. They're in Manhattan, and what they do is they get people to invest in their fund. And what their fund does is it goes and buys these casinos and partners with someone else to do the gaming. So they'll own the property. So they say, hey, we have all these properties that we own, and now we're the landlords. And we just rent it out. We just kick back, and they just got some offices up there. That's all they do. Whew. Good morning, man. It's nice enough now, finally, you can open the windows and not have the air conditioning on. Right, okay, so here's the other issue with Vegas. Besides the fact they have no executive leadership to control their growth, that's why it does this all the time. Sorry. Does this if you're an investor, it does this, right? And this time, it went way down. And everyone sold out, and now is it gonna come back up? Well, a number of factors since COVID have changed. Public sentiment is not about excess anymore. We're not about excessiveness, not about wasting money. Who is? Who thinks, oh man, you know what I feel like doing? I feel like taking the money that I have saved over the last few months, because I lost so much money in 2020, but the money I have now, I feel like blowing it in Vegas. No one has that sort of sentiment of just, throwing money like they did in 2000 or 2010. Now, 2021, people are very conservative with their money. They're thinking to themselves, shit, who knows? There might be another pandemic. Nobody predicted the pandemic. There might be something I don't even know is coming that's gonna, cause. So I don't know if I feel like just blowing money away. Secondly, even if you have the money to blow, it's not cool knowing that so many other people right now are suffering as a result of the COVID. A lot of people are still out of work. The eviction moratorium was just lifted. So a lot of people will be kicked out onto the streets. So the public sentiment globally, except for the people who are still going to Vegas, which think about the kind of people that would still go to Vegas during a pandemic or with kind of everything I'm saying, like, gosh, I'm really worried about my cousin here. He might be on the streets next week. Yeah, me too. And, some of my employees, they're really scared because, they haven't had, Hey, let's go to Vegas and blow some money like we did in Billions 2 years ago. No, it's just, it just doesn't have that sort of drive. We're not feeling that. So while Vegas and Resorts World are showing off all their excess, right? Because they planned this back in 2013 when Excess nightclub was the best. That was the idea, excessiveness and marquee and being big and bold. They had all these Rolls Royces at the Resorts World to show off the excessiveness. Well, that's gonna impress a few donut eaters, but for the average person, the people that you really want in your nightclubs, and the people that were going out before that aren't going today, that's not going to get them out. Quite honestly, the other issue is when you talk around here, just the word on the street. If you say, "Oh, you're from Vegas," or "What do you think about Vegas?" The thing is first thing out of their mouth is no water. Ecology is remnant among people that are on the street that aren't even college educated or maybe not even high school educated. They're just like, "Oh yeah, I don't know about Vegas, man. They ain't got no water out there." So there's sort of this sort of thing where Las Vegas and people don't even talk about it, that there's a water shortage that will be announced today. First ever. And again, it kind of ties back to karma, because the reason why they don't talk about the water shortage is why? Why do you think they don't talk about the water shortage on the news? Why? Or they limit it to like a little blurb in between their Starbucks little thing and about a thing about cats. About once every 3 weeks. Let's put it this way: if New York City was going to have a water shortage, it'd be every topic all day long until it was fixed. They would not sit around and just pretend there was no water shortage coming along so they could build more buildings and have more houses being built and have more casinos and more tourists show up. They just wouldn't do that. They would do the opposite. They would say, "Stay the hell away from here. We don't have any water. We got to fix the water now before we build any more buildings. In fact, we're going to halt construction until we fix the water situation." How's that? Then you'll get their attention. It'll hurt the casino. Right, exactly. Because when you watch the news is literally owned by the casinos. And I don't mean that figuratively. I mean the casinos literally own the news. The Las Vegas Sands purchased the Las Vegas Review-Journal in 2015, secretly. They had the son-in-law of Sheldon Adelson start a shell corporation out here in Connecticut. Bought the Review-Journal for a year. No one knew who this shell corporation was. The Review-Journal's own investigative reporting team had to crack the story on themselves to find out that it was Sheldon Adelson. No one wanted to pay for the Raider Stadium. They would not pay for it, and he wasn't going to shell out the money for it. So he bought the newspaper instead. And he got the newspaper to start promoting what a great idea it was, and that's why when you read the Review-Journal, they talk about how great it is and everything else, because it was part of Sheldon's deal. Well, weirdly enough, as soon as Sheldon died, they sold the Venetian, they sold the Las Vegas Sands to Vicky, which is Caesars Entertainment, and the Apollo Group. But they didn't buy the newspaper, of course. So the Las Vegas Sands is completely divested out of Nevada and out of Las Vegas. They're no longer in Las Vegas, except for their ownership of the Review-Journal newspaper. So the casinos literally own the news in Las Vegas. So that's part of the reason why you might have a hard time getting any sort of good investment reporting out of there. Now, that's not to say, I mean, I don't know what makes the stock go up or stock goes down. Apparently, it looks like more buyers and sellers causes that. So what I'm saying doesn't necessarily mean the stocks are going to go up or down. You know, you get enough buyers, stocks are going to go up. And that's what they're in the business of doing, is convincing people to invest and buy. Man, I just woke up this morning, my hair's kind of fried, guys. I really should have checked out the mirror before I jumped on camera. Whew. Yeah, so, okay. What time is it? Okay, so it is 500 hours and 51 minutes right now. And I'm thinking it's about time for the morning joint. But I don't want to get hit by a car. I get focused on you guys, talking to you guys here, and I forget I'm walking through the streets of Manhattan. And it's about to turn to rush hour here in a minute. Right, so one of the things is that they're having a big issue with the water. And it doesn't seem like the bloggers or the news media take it seriously, or they mention it a lot. And the reason being is, of course, because what I said was because if they mention that there's going to be a water issue, that might hurt tourism. That might hurt the casino tourism. Now, the reason why the county and the news and everybody's on are trying to help the casinos is not only because it's a big business there and that they sponsor and they own the. Okay, they don't own the. No one owns the television news stations. They sponsor a lot of stuff on there, but they don't own those. So, a lot of reasons why. I'm gonna get this thing a level here so I can light my joint and talk to you guys at the same time. Hurt power too. Oh, the water shortage will hurt the power too. Yeah, there's a lot of things that have been going on with that water. It caused a lot of issues. But the main thing is. Well, there's no main thing. There's just a lot of factors that are going on right now. And so I don't know if that's going to affect the stock. So those are the 4 points. So we got, what do we talk about? I don't know. I'm going to smoke my joint now and we'll go from there. Oh, that's another issue. Right there. Another issue is this, is that they have legalized marijuana recreationally, and they promote, they say, hey, come to Vegas. They have all this stuff to buy weed on the strip. However, unlike in New York City, where it's legal for me to smoke marijuana anywhere in public, where you can smoke cigarettes, of course, you cannot smoke marijuana in Nevada in public. So if you buy the weed from a dispensary in Nevada, you cannot legally smoke it anywhere. The hotels will not let you smoke it there. The only way you can smoke it is that if you own private property and you do it on your private property. But if you do it on the strip or in public or in your hotel, you'll get evicted. If you do it on the strip, you'll get a ticket. So, yeah, we got those are some of the main issues right off the top of my head. Now, the end. I don't know how you guys feel. How do you guys feel that Las Vegas is doing? You know, I mean, guys that are still out there. I'm just kind of going off what I saw the last couple times and when I've been there, kind of what I've seen over the years. Tell me what you guys think. If you think that I'm wrong, and you think that, oh no, Vegas is not a comeback and it's awesome, then great. Tell me about that. I want to hear that. I want to know what's going on there. I love Vegas, so I want to know what's happening so I can go back out there again. But the last time I was there, it was sports mania. It was overrun by a lot of families, which is a demographic that maybe you need to kind of fill in your bread and butter. But you also need that, I mean, it's kind of missing that. All you have right now are just the resortists. It is way different. Yeah, David. Okay. Yeah, you agree then. I'm not just making this up. I mean, and that's part of the reason why I'm back in New York City. Is this. The thing about the local news and the media there and everybody there is that if you don't, it's like high school. If you're not on the PTA, if you're not on the leadership committee, if you're not at the rallies, you're not working there. They're not going to hire you. I mean, do you think they wouldn't? I mean, I can't even imagine what sort of strife I would run into with the news station directors at a local news station in Las Vegas talking about the stuff that I would want to talk to, that I would think was important, because what they want to talk about is the new Pink Box opening and Raiders donuts and hockey stuff. You know, that's what they want. They want to promote Vegas. They want people to move there. And the reason why, oh yeah, that's the fifth point that I was getting to, is the Al Giant Stadium that Sheldon Adelson had got passed has put a $750 billion tax burden, $750 million tax burden, $750 million tax burden on the casinos. So, besides the fact that they're really struggling right now with this pandemic and getting back online, now what they have to contend with is you know what I'm saying? It's kind of cool just hanging out down here in the city early morning. Just getting up, people are just kind of hanging out. Everyone's just kind of starting their day. Okay. Caught my breath here. Let's keep moving. So what I heard recently was darker in Buffalo than there. Oh, it's still dark up there? Yeah, you guys are a little further north. That'll probably do that. Yeah, so, you know, so Las Vegas, so what I was hearing about Resorts World was that from I guess it's turning into an operational nightmare over there because of what I was saying about the Vicky, like how Vicky did their thing with the different. Well, Resorts World did the same thing. When they ran out of money, they partnered with Hilton. So Hilton is doing their hotels. Someone else is probably doing their gaming, and they've rented out all these food courts and everything. And they just own the property. They just own the building. So they're like the landlord. And so what I'm hearing is that it's an operational nightmare. Now, what that tells me this early into it is probably more likely, if that's an executive, is that there is no business at Resorts World. And that shit's hitting the fan and everyone's pointing fingers. So of course sales say it's not our fault, man. It's these, you guys are messing it up at the operations level. And the operations guys are saying, oh man, it's a nightmare over here. Who knows? So everyone's pointing fingers, so it's getting frustrating over there. And it is important to mention because you see, these guys, everyone, including the newspapers, have to promote Las Vegas, because if they do not, then what's going to happen is that Clark County will start dipping into their general fund in order to pay for the Al Giant Stadium. If they don't get the numbers that they were projecting when they first did the stadium back before the shooting. Right, the Al Giant numbers are working off numbers that were projected before the shooting and before COVID, of course. But they had a chance to redo the numbers. But back then, they hadn't started construction. But before the shooting, they based their numbers off what they have there. Now, what's happened is they've had to dip into the reserves twice. If they keep dipping into the reserves, what's going to happen is the reserves are going to run out. And then they're going to have to start paying from the Clark County General Fund. Now, if that happens, that means schools, trash collections, police, all that shit, your infrastructure starts wondering, like, what's up with our infrastructure here? And quite honestly, if Las Vegas has hedged their infrastructure on the Al Giant Stadium, and it's that loosely knit right now, where everyone's kind of having to lie to get people kind of like not mention the water shortage and kind of keep promoting Vegas, even though it's not true. I mean, Vegas is not happening. I mean, if you go there, I mean, people from New York City that have gone there, have come back, have said, what the hell happened? I mean, you're sending people, the problem with sending people there to Vegas too early is that people are going and they're seeing what's happening, they're seeing the clientele, and they're going, this sucks, and they're not gonna come back for a while. So while you're trying to get them there, that's great, but you're not offering them anything. There's no parties, there's no fun, it's just people eating, just families eating. It's like a cruise, like a cruise ship out there right now. So what the city's kind of still banking on is this plan with this stadium and the Raiders, and they want to bring more sports teams. They already brought 3 sports teams in with a couple of years. They want to bring 2 more. They want to bring basketball and baseball. Why? Because that's what the locals want. And the locals who move there are from California primarily, and they don't care about ecology. They don't believe in climate change. Seriously, if you take a poll, 80% of people that live in Las Vegas don't believe climate change is real. Well, makes sense, because why the hell would you move to a desert if you did? If you believe that climate change was real, what sort of moron would move to a desert right now to save a few bucks on taxes? Makes no sense, right? But the kind of morons that do are the ones who are living in Las Vegas, and those are the ones who are voting. Those are the ones who are passing the laws. Those are the ones who are making fun of the Jedi, by the way. Those are the ones who are giving us all that. When you guys see the hate messages, those are those guys. They don't like us because we're calling them out, because they're nothing but greedy motherfuckers that moved to Las Vegas to take advantage of cheap tax laws, cheap land, and get bigger houses. And they sold their house in California. Okay. Well, the reason why California has high taxes is because they don't jail their homeless. they actually have social services. So if you get sick or someone you know gets sick, they actually have a place to go. They don't just end up in jail. And that's what happens in Las Vegas. I mean, just little things like that. And what's going to happen in Las Vegas right now, well, I mean, who knows? I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, I can't say. But I can see a scenario where they can't make their numbers. Where they just, not this year and not in 2022, as far as the hotel numbers, and then therefore they can't pay their All Giant Stadium tax. And then I can see the situation where they deplete the reserves for a minute, and then they have to start, saying, hey, we're gonna have to cut services back on, well, we have very little social services as is, so the ones that we do have, we're gonna cut them back in order to balance our budget and pay for the stadium. It sounds like a bad movie or a bad joke, but it's true. I mean, what would bring Las Vegas down is that stadium, because they have to pay for it every month. And if the casinos don't pull the numbers that they were hoping to pull, like they planned in 2016, then those projections could be off significantly. So, if I was a bondholder, which I'm not, so I'm down here in front of the Macy's store in Manhattan. You guys ever see that movie Big? Was that where they do that at Macy's, or where did they do that? That was a different store. Macy's was, I forget what Macy's was in. But times change, we have like whatever that store wasn't Big, and then we have Macy's here, right? But then across the street, look at this brand new store. It's H&M. Very, like times are changing. Things change and businesses change hands, which is why you need to make sure you have executive leadership. And that's one of the complaints I have about Las Vegas. There was none. And it's not a Democrat or Republican issue. It's because it's like everybody was on the same page. They didn't care as long as they made money. It doesn't matter if they're Demo or Republican, they all wanted to make money. They do not believe that there are limits to growth. They don't even believe that water is a limit to growth. They believe that they can just keep growing endlessly. And that's why they have the ups and downs. Because they oversell. And then like a little mortgage crisis happens, and then the whole thing goes belly up. They've opened the doors. There was such a rush to get. They were in such a rush to get money back flowing into Vegas. Primarily, probably because of the stadium. I don't know why, but they're just such a rush that rather than kind of doing they didn't allow any pent up demand. They just, as soon as they reopened, they got everybody out there, and so it just kind of fizzled. Little reopening. And fizzled. And they keep trying to say, oh, yeah. And they're always like pointing like, oh, look at this new thing opening. Look at it. Well, those projects were all planned. I mean, those were all planned before the pandemic, some of them before the shooting. And now that they're finished, great. Now what do you have to look forward to? So, the people that moved to Las Vegas they all want hockey. They actually don't really like casinos. They don't like the Strip. If you kind of go on Twitter or you check the public sentiment of the locals living in Las Vegas, they do not like the Strip. It's just kind of one of those things. I don't know. I don't think they like strip clubs either. I don't think they like prostitution. I don't think they like basically everything that like people go to Vegas for. But they like the money. As I said, they moved from California because they want the money. They're conservative. They have families, but they wanted Little League. They want a baseball team now. They wanted their hockey team. They got that. Now they want a baseball team. Do you know how much water a baseball field uses? I mean, are these guys insane? A baseball field right now? I mean, I mean, it's like, check your audience. I mean, look around the world. I mean, you're asking everyone to feel sorry for Vegas, Vegas stronger, all this other shit, while you guys are wanting to bring on a baseball team in the middle of a federally declared drought. Oh, federally declared water shortage. The drought's been going on. You guys kept going on the drought, but Vegas wants people to feel sorry for them as they beg for a baseball team during a water shortage in the Southwest. They're gonna have to cut off water to Arizona this week to irrigation because there's not enough. Meanwhile, Las Vegas keeps building and building and building and wanting to bring on, and now they want it, you know, like I said, the baseball, to me, baseball is like so, I don't know, it's up there with golf. It's just like old, it's like Midwest, it's just like out there, man. It's like there's other stuff going on right now other than baseball. You know, I mean, really. I mean, baseball takes 8 hours to watch. I mean, it's Jesus, they can speed it up. Do 3 innings. 3 innings of baseball, I'd be down for that. Then you got a sport. But this 9 inning shit, plus it goes on if it's, no. Now 3 innings or 45 minutes, that's it. Put a timer on it. Anyways, just because the times have changed. Okay, I know people want to do that old stuff, and I would love to too. I would love to sit with Grandpa and spend 10 hours all day eating hot dogs with Grandpa watching baseball. I really would. I would love to do that. But unfortunately I cannot, because the hot dogs are all GMOs now. They're not good for you. You can't eat hot dogs. You can't eat popcorn. Anyway, I digress. I'm just kidding around. But seriously though, I think Vegas should focus less on trying to get more sports teams and focus more on fixing their water situation. Also, downplaying the building, they're overbuilding casino after casino. They don't care if the projects are viable. All they care about is selling another construction project. They don't care if it's going to be viable or not. Look how many times they sold the Drew. The Drew Fontainebleau is now the JW Marriott. That thing must have changed hands 4 times in the last 15 years. I mean, they just find a new sucker every day, I guess, to buy it. Like, here, man. Oh yeah, sure, yeah, it's gonna be great. So they're starting construction on that now. Great. I hope they finish it. But the point is that nobody's saying, hey, economically, Las Vegas cannot handle any more casinos. Economically, Las Vegas cannot handle any more restaurants. Economically, You know, right now there's so many layers that if you went into a restaurant, it's going to be so expensive just to get food there, just because it's like you got the casino owner and the landlord, you got, you know, the restaurant now, and you got, you know, it goes on and on and on. That, oh, and then you got the taxes on top of it, tax. That by the time you get your steak, it's going to be like a lot more money than it's worth. Not to mention the food that you get in Vegas, it's all become the same. There's no fresh food there. Which we always kind of knew that it was a desert, but we were okay with that because it was only supposed to be like $1.99 for a buffet, or $4.99 for a buffet. Now it's $60 for a buffet. And they're serving, and they have real restaurants in there that are serving, you know, Gordon Ramsay's serving his food there, but the stuff is all processed. If you go there, if you're from New York City and you go to a restaurant, an expensive restaurant in Las Vegas, you will be very disappointed. It's the same, it's all processed food. There's no fresh food there. There's no fresh ingredients. So just things like that. I mean, look how many times a restaurant opens and closes. If you just look back, if you've been to Vegas for the last 10 years, think 10 years ago what your favorite restaurant was. And don't say Grand Lux, except for Grand Lux. But the other ones, they probably aren't there anymore. About every 3 years, the restaurants change hands. And they just lease the equipment out to a new set of buyers, a new set of suckers, whatever you want to call it, investors, because that's the business. They don't care if the project's viable. They just care if you have the money to buy the equipment and make the lease to make the project happen. And so if you can do that, you can get your project off the ground in Las Vegas. But they're not monitoring how many projects go up. I mean, they might, of course, they have to, some level of that. But really, I think everything can get around any of that stuff there. So those are the main reasons why I see that Las Vegas is going to struggle here. At least for the next 12 months. You know, I mean, moving forward, I don't think Vegas will be as fun or as good a deal as it ever was because, like I said, you have so many layers of ownership now. What a gorgeous morning. I don't know where you guys are at, but out here on the East Coast, it is absolutely gorgeous. Thanks for joining in. Subscribe to the channel if you like. Appreciate you guys giving me the thumbs up. You know, I don't do these very often. I come on once in a while. You know, we got a lot of stuff going on here. I'm 53 years old. I've got a lot of stuff to do. Let's put it this way. You spend a lot of time, when you get older, it seems like you spend a lot of time doing nothing all day. It seems like it takes you all day long and you just kind of like, what did I do? All I did was just get some beef today. But the fact is, you just get more thorough on it, I guess. I don't know, whatever. So thanks for watching, guys. Appreciate you joining me this morning. There's a lot of energy going on here in New York City. I'm very curious what's going to be happening over here post-pandemic. I mean, it's a very interesting time right now, guys. So I'm checking in with you guys. Great chat. Great chat, 53. You're a lot older, okay. Yeah, I know. So then you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. You're extremely busy all day long, not doing anything. It's very strange because when you're younger, I think that you just spend a lot more time, well, you got school, you do a lot of other shit like that. So thanks for watching, guys. I'm gonna, I'll field a little questions here at the end while I like this. If you guys have any questions. I find that walking is really healthy. I'm gonna shift topic for a minute. We're gonna talk about health. So you guys know the Jedi diet. Yeah, I'm showing off my thin body because why? You guys know. Look at that. Look at that nice little butt back there. Right, because I used to weigh like 350 pounds. Not is I never weighed myself at my peak because it was just too depressing. So I tried everything and I did everything, and the issue was, honestly, was that I was addicted to sugar. Like, if I had a bite of sugar, it was really hard not to eat the whole thing. Or eat, you know, like eat until you're just kind of can't eat anymore. I don't know if you guys ever had that experience with food. I'm the only one, probably. But I don't think so, because when I look around, when I read the statistics, 75% of Americans are now overweight or obese. And that was in 2018, before the pandemic. They haven't even released the new numbers yet. I think they haven't released them because they're just scared. They're scared, they're not very good. Because it is a serious issue in this country, and it's a result of the U.S. Department of Agriculture pushing the 4 food groups on us. those food groups, bang, saying that you have to now eat equal parts of dairy, grains, and fruits and vegetables and meat. And the more they push that on our children, the more they push that on us, the more we became addicted to sugar. Oh, hey, say like, yeah, go water the plants, bro. And so, yeah, I probably should wrap it up. I'll do another one on this one later. We'll talk about food later. Thanks for watching, guys. I'm gonna head out too. Anyways, stop eating sugar, guys. It's cancer. I'm not kidding.